We're public and love. I don't know where else to see that. Videos. Yep.
Yeah.
We're hearing it?
Right.
And that's no one in the front. Good.
Oh, Lord. Yeah.
It's good. It's good. We're good. We're good.
And of course, 3 minutes have facial hair. Facial hair.
I have them off right now, except for the party online. I'm going to try to I'll either have them all live, or if I can keep track, pretty easy. If they're queuing who's going to speak, then I'll let them. Yeah, that's a good thing. I like that. You keep the calls and stuff out of the screen. Yeah.
Let's see what everybody. Billy came over and did voter's registration.
Good evening, Radford. Let's try that again. Good evening, Radford. Thank you all so much for being here for tonight's City of Radford School Board Candidate Forum. We are going to start first with greetings from first the President of the NAACP Montgomery County Radford City Floyd County Branch, and then greetings from Daniel Kinney, Executive Director for the Radford Chamber of Commerce.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's certainly a pleasure to see everyone out tonight. As Karen said, I'm Debbie Travis. I'm president of the Montgomery County Radford City Floyd County branch of the NAACP, and I'm also interim president of the League of Women Voters, Montgomery County. We certainly welcome you here tonight. I know you're excited about learning about your candidates, and so we're going to give you the opportunity to ask questions and find out their positions so that you know who you're going to vote for on November 5th. Thank you so much for being here and allowing us to take part in your community to provide you with this information. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming out. I'm Daniel Kinney with the Radford Chamber. So I just want to say thank you to these two ladies for the NAACP and League of Women Voters for taking the spearhead on this event. So we're just on videoing, so it's live on Facebook right now. So if you know anybody who's at home or not able to be here, you can certainly give them a quick text and let them know. It'll be available later on the YouTube channel for Radford Chamber. So again, thank you guys for coming out, and we look forward to having some great answers with some tough questions from you guys. So thank you very much.
So my name is Karen Jones. I serve as the Political Action and the Environmental and Climate Justice Chair for our branch of the NAACP. And I also have the honor and privilege of serving as your moderator this evening. So the City of Radford has 2 open school board seats with 4-year terms. Tonight's candidate forum includes all 5 candidates who are seeking their vote. The candidates for the City of Radford School Board are Ben L. Buzzard, you can leave, Brian K. Dobbins, Rebecca Dunn, Kelsey Marletta, and Amanda Wilson. We can give them In preparation for tonight's forum, candidates are provided with 5 questions. 2 to 3 of these questions will be asked. All other questions for the forum will come from you, the audience. You should have received note cards to submit your questions. If you would like a note card, please raise your hand And one of our outstanding high school volunteers is very happy to bring you a card. And then when you're finished, they will pick it up for you, so you don't even have to get out of your seat. All of the questions submitted will be screened for duplication, variety, and to ensure that the questions asked tonight are relevant to the decisions that the school board can make. Our Q&A sorters are to my left, and so they'll just be, again, reviewing questions. We want to have as many questions as we can get to, so they just want to make sure there are no duplicates. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to introduce themselves and to why they are running for office. As moderator, I will address questions to all candidates. I will rotate the order in which questions are asked between the candidates. Each candidate will have up to 2 minutes to answer each question. The timekeepers will notify the candidates when they have 1 minute left to answer, then 30 seconds, and then they'll get a big old time's up sign, which means they must stop talking. So when you see the time's up, that's when we stop. And each candidate will also have 2 minutes to make a closing statement. During the closing statements, candidates may address any previously asked questions. So, are you all ready to begin? Okay. All right, well, we will start with our introduction, and we will start first with Mr. Ben Buzzer.
My name is Ben Buzzer. I'm very used to this stage. I was a band, RHS band member. I graduated from Radford High School. I have been in youth ministry for 20 years. Since then, I actually went back to school at Radford University, got my business degree. I was the outstanding student of the College of Business and Economics in 2016. I wound up competing against other students globally and placed 16th in management in my management course. Since then, I've gone on to be a supervisor at Radford University over parking enforcement and night security lockup. And I'm a DHS certified campus security instructor. And I'm also coach of the PE football team, assistant coach, sorry, with Coach Dwayne Martin, who's amazing if y'all know him. Most important role about me though is while I was in school, I became a new dad, and I have 2 amazing kids and a wonderful one. And that's my best reason for being here.
Thank you. Next, Brian K. Dobbins.
Good evening, everyone. I'm glad to see everybody here. I'm certainly glad to be invited here. A little bit about myself. I've lived in this town for 52 years. Been married to my beautiful wife for 26. We got 2 children. One currently graduated here. She went to RU, graduated, and pursued her career at Lenore Ryan University, where she's graduated. Now she's got a big girl britches on, and she's working. So I got a younger daughter here. She's a junior. She loves playing volleyball, as did my older girl. But I worked for Norfolk Southern for 27 years, and I had that cut short about 2 years ago. Hurt my back pretty good, so they disabled me from there. So I thought, I got asked by several people to accept this challenge, and I thought about it long and hard. I talked to my family, and I said, maybe I can give back a little bit. I love this town. I love the people in it. I got deep roots here. My family, my mom and dad, their mom and dad. I know a lot of people, and so we'll see. But that's pretty good to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Rebecca Dunn.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Dunn. I'm excited for the opportunity to run for Radford City School Board. I have a vested interest in our community and care deeply for our children. I grew up in Radford, and I have 5 children, 2 of which have graduated from Radford High School, 2 are in Radford City Public Schools, and I have 1 who is yet to begin. I attended Virginia Commonwealth University and obtained my master's degree in social work. Over the years, I've worked in the helping profession, beginning as a volunteer firefighter, EMT, at the Radford Fire Department. I've I've worked at several human services agencies within the New River Valley, both with children and adults. I've provided mental health services to students in local schools, including Bellevue Elementary. I've served on the PTA, volunteered with Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts, and have leadership experience and attended many leadership trainings as a supervisor and a program manager. I'm a court-appointed legal guardian for an individual with an intellectual disability. I have experience working in high-crisis situations with neurotypical and neurodivergent individuals. I currently work in the community as a clinician. Between my paid and unpaid roles in the community, I have experience working with budgets, and that's a needed skill for a school board member. I feel my experiences have prepared me to serve as a Radford School Board member. One of my top priorities is going to be building up positive relationships throughout our schools, establishing connections with faculty and administration. The relationships built with these individuals will assist the board with making changes where they are needed within the schools. My hope, if elected, is to cultivate these relationships.
Thank you. Kelsey Moletta.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kelsey. I am the only one who is currently sitting up here who was not born and raised in Radford. I actually was born and raised in Redmond. I moved here in 2016 with my eldest son, and we have since called it home, as well as I welcomed twins last year, and now this is where we have decided that we will be for the time being. I would like to first thank everyone who has decided to come this evening. I think it's very important that you're able to know who you are voting for. I also would like to thank those that have been on the forum itself. Since December, when I declared my intention to run for our school board, I have worked on the ground, going door to door, as well as speaking with those individuals ranging from our state delegates to our former teachers, our present teachers, citizens, parents, and our local city officials. I think that this was very important for me to do, as it gave me the ability to get a wide breadth of knowledge that would be needed in understanding how both our school district and our city works. I have kept my main focus for the past 8-9 months now to run, as that we must protect and advocate for our city and our school district's most precious resource, its students. I believe that with the right type of mindset, and I believe with the right people in place, that we can make our school district go from successful to exceptional.
Thank you. And Amanda Winter.
Good evening, everyone. First, I would like to take a moment and thank the NAACP and League of Women Voters for their hard work in organizing this event. I would also like to thank everyone in the audience who came out to support our school system. My name is Amanda Winter. I was born and raised in Radford. You may have known me as Amanda Jimenez or Jimenez if you pronounce it correctly. I have 2 children that have graduated from the Radford school systems, and I have 2 more that are still in the school system. I've been a mother for 28 years. So not only do I understand the importance of an exceptional education, I appreciate how excellent the Radford City school system is, and I will work hard to keep it moving forward in the right direction. For 10 years, I worked at the Montgomery County School Board office, where I gained insight to the internal functions of the school system. I also was a substitute teacher for several years, where I gained experience in the classroom. I later went on to work at Virginia Tech. So as you can see, empowering students through education has always been a passion of mine. I wanted to run for school board because I bring honesty, dependability, and integrity to the table. As a school board member, I will be the eyes, ears, and voice of the community. If you elect me, you can be confident that every decision I make will prioritize the academic success and well-being of all students.
Thank you. Okay, and so now we'll start with our first question of the evening. And that question is, what is the biggest challenge Radford City Schools face, and how would you address that challenge? And the first first person we will go to is Rebecca.
So I believe the biggest challenge, not only in Radford, but across the state, is teacher retention. As you heard me say a few minutes ago, I plan to cultivate a positive work culture among our faculty and staff, one in which mutual respect is had among all. This will be implemented through open communication, transparency, and regular feedback. Valuing our faculty, staff, and administration will foster a sense of belonging. With increased happiness in the workplace, we can see higher rates of teacher retention, more engagement between the teachers and the students, increased attendance, and increased testing scores.
Kelsey?
I believe that this question is actually twofold. I believe that currently what we are experiencing as our biggest challenge is the fact that we've had a large teacher turnover in the past 2 years. I believe that we need to make sure that with the amount of first-year teachers that have come on board, that those teachers are receiving the support and the mentorship that they need from those who have been in the positions for whether it's 5, 10, 15, or 20 years. The other part that I think is very important and is one of our biggest challenges is that several, between Dalton and the current school that you are in, the infrastructure is very much aging. We need to make sure that we are addressing where we need to make our buildings better, such as the renovation of the park, and prior to that, at Bell Heath. I also believe that it is very important that we look at this from both a city and a school district perspective, as it could be a possibility to collaborate to make sure that we are receiving the grants and the funding that we might have to look into to get our infrastructure to where it should be. We have to abide by the idea that if you build it, they will come. Therefore, we can only establish a greater city with a greater population if we make sure that our school system is exactly where it should be.
Amanda?
I think funding is a big issue. The Radford City School System is struggling with funding issues. Dalton Intermediate and Radford High School both need renovations. We, like so many other school systems in the nation, are struggling with teacher retention. We need to hire more support staff to help manage the teachers' workloads and provide more support for the students. We could use more wellness programs in the school system and better salary and benefits, but all of this takes more funding. We are so good at doing so much with so little, but unless we get more funding, Radford City School System could be in trouble. If I'm elected to the school board, I will engage with local, state, and federal lawmakers to advocate for increased education funding. Another idea that could help directly with funds or free up some funds is doing more partnering with businesses like Volvo, Virginia Tech, New River Community College, and Radford University. This can help in several ways, including financial sponsorships, internship and job opportunities after graduation, job shadowing and mentoring, resource sharing, curriculum development, funding and resources, workshops and training, scholarships and grants for students. Take the ACE program with New River Community College, for example. By leveraging these partnerships, Radford Public Schools can enhance their funding sources, improve educational programs, and better prepare students for the future success.
Ben?
One of my biggest things is just the idea that we need to keep the main thing the main thing. Radford needs to continue its track of focusing on quality education, doing what we can with what we got until the funding is there. I was one of the kids in the 90s that we moved from Charlottesville to Radford to get me a better education. This school system was tough. It was tough to graduate from here, and I was in all the gifted programs in Montgomery County. And that is a draw for young voters to come here is, keep the main thing the main thing. We jumped over 9 schools in 9 spots over this last couple years. And I just want to keep that going, and that's going to draw more taxpayers to Radford. That's going to get us the funding that we want. And also, a safe place to have your kids here. Once again, my background is in safety there. So, that would be where I'm at.
Okay, Brian?
You know, I can agree with all four. There's all four great answers. Teacher shortages, you know, that's a big problem. So, you know, anything that the board can ever do is to at least try to attract the best and the brightest teachers for our kids. You know, I mean, I can remember vaguely, but I can hear people from Pulaski County, Christiansburg, you know, they all said Radford City Schools was the upper echelon of excellence. And, you know, I personally have seen a trend downward, not so much. I think my oldest daughter, it was pretty good then, but I've seen it fall a little bit. So, you know, whatever we can do and whoever we can work with, you know, to provide, you know, getting the teacher shortages out of the way, getting the best of the best, making the school system the best. You know, that's always good. You know, bus drivers, you know, the retention, making a couple of changes. For example, last year, I believe the board changed the pay policies so bus drivers are paid their hourly rate during their wait time at a game and field trip. So that's an improvement. Student behaviors, you know, on the buses is a distraction, and it makes that job a whole lot difficult. I know because I drove a bunch of men for 20-some years. That's how we rode out to the job, and it's pretty heinous. But anyway, you know, concentrate. Maybe we could put somebody on the bus, you know, an adult to help with that. You know, keep us safe. You know, for the bus driver and the children.
Thank you. Our next question is, what is the school board's duty in the equal treatment within schools of all children, regardless of ethnicity, religion, and chosen sex or gender? Okay, and so we will start this question first with Kelsey.
Give me just one moment. I think the main way that we have to look at this as a school district is that every student receives what they need every day. There really is no other way to look at it without putting different groups up against each other or allowing for certain ethnic groups or a demographic to be treated differently. As long as we have an understanding that we are giving every student what they need every day inside of the classroom, and from the time in which they enter the building and once they leave the buildings, then we can certainly go on a trend that is successful in this matter. It's also important that in sports that we remain to do the same thing. All of our athletes, anyone who, you know, will participate in drama, theater, music, band, any of the above, everybody has to be able to be given a fair chance to make sure that they can be as successful as possible once they leave the district.
Amanda?
Every student in Radford City matters, and my top priority is to put their well-being and success at the forefront of every decision. When I say every student, I mean all students. We need to prioritize policies that could help that stay in place. I, as a school board member, would ensure a safe and supportive learning environment for all students.
Ben?
Like I said, I was in youth ministry for 20 years, and doesn't matter what you say about really any kid, they're all made, to me, they're all made in the image of God, and they're all valued that way. that's the way that I see them, and that's the way that I hope everybody sees them. Every kid, as somebody who's actually, that would probably be something that I would also like to tackle as somebody who was viciously bullied here. I don't want that for any kid. So that's what my heart.
Brian?
You know, I agree with Ben. You know, I look out and I see people I went to high school with, and you know, we didn't really have much of that type of issue. You know, we had our little groups, but the world has changed, and you know, we need to do our best to be able to change with it. You know, personally, every child, you know, they all make a difference. All of them are somebody's child. And, you know, the kids are our future. I mean, you know, if we can't give them the tools they need, no matter what they are, you know, it's sad to think that somebody would see something differently like that. You know, it really bothers me. A lot of people don't like talking about this stuff, you know, and it makes me squirm. It makes anybody squirm. But at the end of the day, you know, we need to do the right thing all the time, no matter what the case is.
And Rebecca?
Diversity, equity, and inclusion is very important to me. As many of you know, I've worked with intellectual and developmentally disabled individuals for many years, some of which in crisis situations. I have, as I said a few minutes ago, I'm a court-appointed legal guardian and have been for about 20 years for an individual. I have advocated for fairness and opportunity for my lady and for the individuals that I've worked with and for. I believe everybody deserves a right to an education. Our children come to our schools for opportunities, and I do not believe that we should be taking those opportunities away from children just because of their sexuality, race, or disabilities.
Thank you all. Our next question reads, it has been recently published that the city of Radford contributes less money per student than any other city in the Commonwealth. What budget priorities do you have? And we will start first with Brian.
Well, the budget is a huge issue. That's a known fact. As we all know, our city's in kind of a financial crisis now. So luckily we're able to draw some state funding for that. But you know, it's you got to pinch pennies. You know, and it hurts. You know, you want to see everybody thrive. You want to see your faculty thrive. You want to see your staff thrive. And in a perfect world, we can do that. But we got to be able to manage somehow or the other. Unfortunately, sometimes that's not able to happen. But you know, working together, I mean, I'm sure that everybody has their strengths. You know, everybody's different. Everybody has a power, you know, so if we put all their powers together, you know, and work together, then I can assure the people, the students, the staff, that we can make everything happen the way it should.
Rebecca.
So, as we know, school boards are funded through local, state, and federal funds. There's not much that we can do to force the city to give us more money when they are currently in this financial state. I'll do my best working collaboratively with others on the board, brainstorming ideas to develop ways that maybe we can bring in some more money, and that could be through grants at a state or federal level to help offset the money that we are not receiving from the city. I will advocate like I said, to address any current or anticipated budgetary needs for our students. I will support our schools' financing and budgets needs as best that I can.
Kelsey?
Can you please repeat the question?
Yes. It has been recently published that the city of Bradford contributes less money per student than any other city in the Commonwealth. What budget priorities do you have?
I think the first budget priority that we need to look at, if we can possibly, is to ensure that our teachers are being paid the max amount of salary. However, most of this is mandated by the state already, so we only have a certain amount of leeway according to how our budget can allocate for this. It's also that Radford City, on average, in the past 4 years, has given approximately $6 million to the school system itself. There can be more collaboration between the city and the school district if we allow it to be there. This might also be helpful in being able to obtain more funds that can then help all students, as well as I have mentioned before, to make sure that our buildings are in the state in which they should be in.
Amanda?
First of all, doing anything with the budget in a financially constrained environment can be challenging. As I've said before, I would like to see Dalton Intermediate and Radford High School both get the renovations that they need. I would like to see better salaries and benefits for teacher retention. And I've mentioned wellness and mental health programs, which are also strained. I will advocate for increased funding. Like I said, I will work with local and state government to advocate for increased education funding. Right now, for instance, teachers in Virginia are paid $6,641 below the estimated national average. And of course, right here in Southwest Virginia, that's even less. Because of low funding from the state, we have to work with our local government, and that's your tax dollars. So one of my top priorities as a member of Radford School Board, if elected, is to enhance communication and collaboration with the City Council. Open dialogue is essential and effective for addressing the school system's issues and needs. Can we allocate any resources? I will look at the budget and see where our most critical needs are, and if we can reallocate, I will. I also mentioned this before, I think we should explore partnerships with local businesses and organizations that may be willing to contribute financially or provide sponsorships for education programs that can free up funds for salaries or wherever we need it. Those are just a few ideas that I have, but we as a school board cannot solve these issues by ourselves.
And Ben?
Time to engage the financial nerd. The Baltimore, Maryland, as she mentioned, we were the lowest funded school, lowest by our city. They had the fourth highest per capita student spending, and they surveyed 13 of their schools and couldn't find one student proficient in math. We have people around this area who are trying but can't get into Radford because we're pretty much maxed out. We have a fantastic school system here. But they're right. We do have a funding issue, and a lot of it comes down to this whole local composite index, where our incomes for Radford, our home values, and our sales tax determine how much the state has to spend on our school board, or spend on our school system. We require the most state funding out of any school in the entire Commonwealth. So it's not even coming in locally. I have high hopes for a lot of the building projects that they're doing over there, but we need something big like a Volvo, something like Pulaski's Volvo. I'd love to see some like chipset manufacturers, but that's not in the scope of this. I do think that the school has been fantastic with their capital reserves. My biggest thing would also be teacher salary, because I'd love to figure out some way to make sure that our salaries are still competitive with the schools around here, because we have great teachers, we're getting the results, and we don't want to lose them just because they can hop out somewhere else and sign a contract with one of the nearby school systems and make more money.
Thank you all. Our next question reads, do you believe in banning books in schools or the library? Amanda.
I am ready. In Rapid City, there is a policy already in place that is working for students and families. Parents already have the right to restrict what their own child reads. I personally trust our librarians and our educators to be pointing our children in the right direction when it comes to picking out books. Public education should not be a political battleground. We should not be pushing any political agendas on our children.
Brian.
You know, books are your educator. I mean, as long as they're used for the right purpose. I, for one, was involved with an issue with my youngest daughter. It was a book she brought home. I wasn't very pleased with it. I took it. They resolved the problem. It was solved. You know, like I said, books are the only thing we have, you know, and, I mean, I don't read a lot, but I do listen a lot, you know, so, as long as they're used for what they're meant to be, educated, you know, that's where I stand.
Everybody's against banning books, at least one or two. If we could start from the extremes and say, do we want the anarchist cookbook? Everybody would be in agreement. No. So we have to find out what we're willing to allow into the school. And I agree with Amanda. Like, we keep the main things the main things. We don't let activism make its way into our schools. We stay focused on the main subjects and keep the main thing the main thing. Most of the quote-unquote banned books lately that have been making the news have either pornographic images in it or sexuality, and a lot of the schools that are restricting them is elementary age. So, yeah, obviously we want to try to restrict that content. Let kids be kids. I think that's pretty much it.
Rebecca.
No, I do not agree with banning books in the schools. Radford City Public Schools hires teachers for their knowledge on specific topics, along with professionals such as librarians. Schools are a place for children to explore opportunities, which includes the opportunity to read and learn about others through a book. I would encourage our school librarians and other professionals to refer to the VLA, the Virginia Library Association, for guidelines on appropriate books for the age groups.
And
I absolutely do not agree with banning books. That is something that amongst my campaign, I have actually not been asked that question very often, which is kind of surprising considering the amount of national coverage that it has received. I also believe in the fact that our educators spend so much time planning, implementing, and going over what they research that is best for their classrooms. I do not think that we should judge that if we see that our students are having a successful education and that they are able to learn. Banning books is also an incredibly dangerous prospect, as it takes away a lot of our histories in various capacities, and limiting art history, it also therefore puts a limitation on what a student is able to learn.
Thank you. Our next question is, do you agree that a cell phone-free environment is a safer and healthier environment in our schools? Rebecca?
I'm currently reading The Anxious Generation, so I have not all the way through that book, but it has really been eye-opening for me. One thing I wrote down about that book is when people are raised in communities they can't escape, they learn how to manage people and their emotions to be able to navigate the issue at hand and to continue nurturing those relationships. So students are less likely to learn these skills through their phones. Change is possible if we work together, and I believe that the schools should be cell phone free, at least during the instruction time, given all the evidence that has been provided. Cell phones interrupt children's sleep, their social interactions, their attention, and then cell phones are addictive. I do not believe that we need to allow those into the school during education time. But I have not finished reading the book, so I may have more to say on that once I'm finished.
I think with the cell phone usage, this is something that, as she said, during the class time, we certainly do not need to have the cell phones be present. I teach as a professor at RU, and I can certainly tell you that any type of technology is a huge source of distraction for its students, even on the college level. It would be wonderful to see that all of our students are entirely focused on what the teacher is teaching, as that's why our students do go to school. However, if that device is put in that student's backpack and it is not used during the day, then it should not be an issue if the student decides to take it out of their backpack at the end of the day when they are no longer in the classroom. We also have to come to terms with the reality that children having cell phones as young as even 5 years old, which does actually happen, that it's going to be a part of our society. Therefore, we have to learn how to adapt around it. I don't believe that making one firm policy is going to be able to satisfy everyone. That is also somewhere where we need to collaborate and make sure that we are speaking with individuals, say the ones who are on the school board.
Well, everybody knows we live in a world of technology, and I feud with my youngest daughter. It's almost every day. This is a hot subject. Have many people ask me the same question. And no, I do not think that a cell phone should be in the classroom. It is a major distraction. There was a teacher one time that had all her students, whatever it was, a message, ding from Snapchat or any kind of social, anything that ding on their phone come up, put a mark on the board. Well, at the end of the class, the whole board was marked. So, and she looked at him and said, well, how could you possibly learn anything? And, you know, they can't. It's a distraction, you know, and that's a huge concern for me. But, yeah, I'm not a fan of them in the classroom. They are a good safety aspect. I know moms and dads want them, you know, for that part, but, yeah, for me personally, I'm not a fan.
Amanda?
I know that Radford Schools has the cell phone policy in place, and I agree with this policy. I do agree with everyone else that, you know, the cell phone is a distraction during education time. And I also like the fact that the kids are allowed to use their phone at lunch. I think that's a nice compromise, because as far as I know, I think the kids seem to be adjusting well to it. But I also agree with what Kelsey said, that we may need to adapt to this technology because it's not, I don't think it's going anywhere. And that could look like using it for instruction time, which I know that sometimes teachers ask their students to download apps and to use it. And I think that's fine if it's used for good. But I do agree with the cell phone policy that is in place. Ben?
Well, downloading apps can be done on Chromebooks, and I think most of the students are issued those. We are, I'm a little torn on this one, but I mean, I don't think it matters too much if I'm torn on it, because I think this is state law from Youngkin that I think he wants bell-to-bell cell phone bans, but for right now, it's my understanding that the schools get a little bit of leeway in how they want to implement it. So, them using it during lunchtime, I think that's pretty acceptable. I do think that they are a distraction, but again, we're not leaving a world where the cell phones are there, but they also, it doesn't provide any rest. And if they're getting socially bullied or something, that's something that follows them, and that's something that they continues. And as one of them pointed out, that does keep that pressure on. So, I don't know. I'm mostly against it, but again, like I said, it's state policy coming down. It's how the schools are going to wind up implementing it going forward, and we'll do that as we get more direction.
So next question, what do you understand is the role of a school board member? How will you balance your desire to communicate with the community and school personnel within the confines of your role as a school board member? And so I'll read this again because it's a little lengthy for us. Okay. What do you understand is the role of a school board member? How will you balance your desire to communicate with the community and school personnel within the confines of your role as a school board member? And we'll start first with Brian.
Well, first and foremost, I'm an open book. I mean, anybody can approach me. I always meet friends, I don't meet strangers, is what I'm going to say, but school board members, I know they get a lot of heat sometimes, but they just, you got a fine line right there. You got to do your job also along with trying to do what's right for everybody else, the kids, the staff. Like I said, anybody can talk to me. Sometimes you might not like what I have to say, but if you research a lot of what I say, most of the time you'll find out it's the truth. So that's all I believe in, is the truth. But, we all have to work together. The school board members we have now, I think they're doing an excellent job. Joyce is doing an excellent job. I think it's on an upward trend now, so that's good. Green is always good. So, that's
Rebecca?
So school boards play a critical role in the education system by overseeing the public schools. I see my role as being responsible for policies, hiring superintendents, ensuring our schools are meeting all state and federal standards. I'll engage with the faculty, staff, administrators, and community members to address concerns. So if concerns come up, I will actively listen to whoever is bringing that concern to me. I'll follow policies that are in place, communicate transparently, ensure the concerns are investigated, implement changes if needed, and follow up with the individual that raised the concerns. Then we'll review policies if needed based upon that concern. Depending on if it's a individual concern or a community concern, we can always reach out to the community and through surveys and public meetings, and again, communicating transparently through the process, so that the community or staff, whoever the concern is coming from, they know that it's being addressed.
Ben?
I see the school board member as that middle ground between the community and the school system. We are hired in by the public to represent their values, to try to get the best we can out of the school system. And honestly, like I said, they're doing an amazing job with it. It's our job to provide, I'm hoping to provide the teachers with some consistency going forward. We're on a great track. So go in without ego, do the best we can to provide that stability, even if it means just watching what's going on and nudging where you can. It's our job to vote in a new superintendent if that ever came up, with keeping in mind of student safety, quality education, respect for any student going to a four-year institution, trades, or the workforce or military.
Amanda?
I'll try to read my writing. I view my role as a school board member as someone who will be working on policies and programs and be working with the superintendent. But I also view it as, I've said before, the eyes, ears, and voices of the community. I will have an open door policy. One of the issues that I'm running on is a commitment to trust and transparency and open communication. I'm dedicated to fostering an environment of trust and transparency between the school board and the community. Open communication is key to building this trust, and I'll work to ensure that decisions are made with full transparency and that the community is kept informed and engaged. However, I do know that there will be times in closed meetings that we will be asked to do, the conduct, and there are some things that will be talked about in there that I will not be able to talk about. But I would hope that if you decide to vote for me, that you know that I'm making every decision, even the one behind closed doors, with your child's, all children's best interest in mind.
Kelsey?
Can you repeat the question one more time since I lost one?
Yeah.
Thank you.
What do you understand is the role of a school board member? How do you balance your desire to communicate with the community and school personnel within the confines of your role as a school board member?
Well, as pretty much everyone else here has said, the main role of a school board member is to create policy. That is why we are there. Therefore, if we become the bridge between the school district and the community, I think that is fine. However, I think that we put our administration teams and our superintendent in place for a reason. Our teachers report to them directly. I do not believe that we should be going into the schools to try to directly impact anybody's teaching, nor to try to undermine the superintendent, nor any of the principals. We need to put our full trust into them as they are hired, and we need to make sure that we are doing so by hiring these individuals to support the students at their maximum efforts. Within the confines of the position also, I think that opens up something that we have seen recently where many of our teachers, many of those who are citizens and whatnot, do not trust the school board, nor do they believe that there has been several decisions that have been made in the past couple of years that have led to several teachers. I think it is approximately 27 between admin and teachers who have left. This could have been avoided if we make sure that our school board collaborates and unifies on all of the matters that come forward, and that the school board members focus on what we are there to do, which is to create policy.
Our next question, how do you propose keeping Radford school children safe, whether from bullying or from outside threats? And we will start first with Rebecca.
So, from outside threats, I believe that we need to continue our collaboration with Radford City Police Department and follow their guidelines and guidance on keeping our schools safe. For bullying, I think that there's a lot of things that can be done to prevent bullying, starting with classroom management, education for our teachers on identifying potential threats in the classroom, bullying, and then implementing ways to decrease the bullying within the schools. I think going back to the code of conduct, ensuring that we are following the code of conduct for when somebody is bullied, and making sure that we are addressing it in real time.
I do agree that when it comes to our collaboration with the Radford City Police Department, it seems by all intents and purposes that we do a very great job with that. I think that where I have seen an issue is there needs to be a greater level of transparency that happens between the schools themselves and the parents. That is not to say that the ones who are inside of the schools do not do their job in informing. It's that we might need to establish a system that is a lot quicker, that can get the information out if an incident does occur. But I know that with the police department, with us being able to have a school resource officer in every building is paramount for keeping our students safe during the day. In regards to bullying, bullying is such a hard one because of the fact that many of the school districts around the nation display a zero tolerance policy. However, we know with the complexities of bullying and understanding the situations that the students come from, that necessarily isn't always the case. We have several bullying issues that have happened. I saw them when I worked for RCPS during COVID. Of course, that was a very polarized time, as it was very difficult for the teachers. We were all just trying to make sure that our students were safe. But again, that goes back to the student safety. Bullying is something that I think needs more ideas on the different policies and how we can create them. That would be one that I would definitely want to hear the opinions of other school board members to see if we can revamp or look into different policies that maybe other school districts use.
Amanda.
Keeping children safe at school from outside shooter and any kind of violence involves a multifaceted approach. We have SROs at each school, and we have robust security measures in place. The Radford City Police Department and the schools collaborate effectively, and I have complete confidence in the plans and policies that they implement. As a parent, we don't, and even me asking, we're not allowed to know exactly what these policies entail, and that is to keep our children safe, so that no one can find any kind of loophole anywhere, and I fully think that they're working hard to keep our children safe. Additionally, we have a reliable threat assessment program that I fully trust, which is such an important piece. If elected, I will prioritize comprehensive training for all school employees, right down to, administrators, educators, anyone that's in that building, cafeteria staff, custodians. And I want that trained every year if it's not already being trained every year. And I want for new hires to have that training immediately. There's a program in place and it's called I love you guys. And it's a program that works with the school system, law enforcement, emergency management, psychologists, and first responders. And it's a good system from what I can tell from looking into it. It's a great system. As far as bullying, I know that we have a program in place that claims to be effective. I know personally from my first two children that the bullying that they received or endured,
see the time's up. Ben?
As far as school safety, I know at Radford University and other universities, they have to conduct a risk assessment about every 2 years. I don't know at this point what it would be for the high school, or middle school or elementary. I've already been speaking to the SROs about their ideas and just small ways to limit access points, open up line of sight in public areas so that you can kind of see what's going on. So I do have a couple ideas with that, and I'm actually trying to get another job over at RU at the same time. My boss has completely supported that for assistant to emergency management over there. So anything I learn in that capacity, if that does happen, it's y'all's. As far as the bullying, again, that's near and dear to my heart. I confess I was beat up pretty solidly, and while I was going to school here, I don't know how you solve it when you suspend these kids and it's like that's what they were after. I do know that we had issues with bullying on the football team that we were coaching, and it got word, and we chewed them out and we threatened to kick them off the team. I think strong discipline for what you have the ability to do is an answer, but a lot of the discipline, it needs to start at home because we have very little ability to do anything at the school system. I used to work in juvenile corrections, but I'm telling you, when you can get the right kid who may be a problem kid, some strong discipline and direction, you can turn that whole kid's life around.
And Brian?
So, safety is one of the top priorities for me. You know, we always have to continue to work with RPD, no matter what. I do believe, and I would work very hard to try to see how we could get more resource officers because, you know, one is not enough. I mean, it's just simply not enough for here. You know, we got, you know, our doors. I mean, we all know around the area we've had threats, and they have to shut down schools because of it. You know, I mean, that's loss. That's lost time for a child to get what he or she may need. You know, the bullying, I don't know what people would think to do something like that, but, you know, it happens, and it's a shame it happens. Our teachers, our staff, if they see it take place, they should, you know, stand corrected with it. And, you know, there's a lot of children that, you know, like Ben said, you know, I was a little tiny guy in school, and I got pushed around a lot, you know, but I grew up, and they don't push me around so much anymore. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But, you know, I wish there was more ways or the thoughts from somebody that would come up that we could be more educated or on how to handle those issues. You know, like I said, I just don't know how to implement it because a lot of these children are disturbed, and it just really saddens me.
And our next question, how should school board members get input they need to develop behavior and discipline policies that apply to all children fairly and protect all children? So I'll repeat this. How should school board members get input they need to develop behavior and discipline policies that will apply to all children fairly and protect all children? And we will start first with Kelsey.
I think what we first need to look at is to make sure that the communication line between all of our stakeholders, that being the parents, the teachers, the school board, and our community, that requires authentic engagement between all of the stakeholders that are involved within the city and within the school district itself. If we are looking to create a shared vision, then we also need to make sure that we are addressing bias and understanding the context in which an issue arises. This also streamlines down to an authentic sense of collaboration. This collaboration can only be achieved if we do loop back around and make sure that we are all authentically engaging with each other, which also means keeping an open mind. I also believe that there can be a feedback loop that is so essentially a 360-degree loop in which we go back after and to make sure that the resources and data that we have gained through the engagement, the shared vision, and the speaking with understanding the bias, because bias is certainly there. The communication aspect is certainly the most important. That's going to be something that I think no matter who goes on to the school board and where our school system goes, that we have to make sure that we are doing better with that.
Brian?
Could you repeat that for me, please?
Yes. How should school board members get input they need to develop behavior and discipline policies that will apply to all children fairly and protect all children?
Okay, well, for me, I would go out and talk to, I know a lot of these teachers. I go out and talk to them because they see what they may need, and that's who we need to support, is them. That's where I would learn to implement what we need to do. The staff, they're all tools, they're all tools for us to use. The board itself, whether I get elected or not, the bottom line is they need to all work together, simply put. It's not about someone's belief, it's about what's good for these kids. And,
Ben?
Can you repeat that one more time?
Yes. How should school board members get input they need to develop behavior and discipline policies that will apply to all children fairly and protect all children?
You speak to the teachers, see what they're dealing with, speak to the principals and the superintendents, see what they're dealing with. Based on that, you set expectations and you set very clear rules that if students don't meet, then they have to know that there is a discipline there that's coming their way. And it has to be firm and consistent. If they see any lapse in that or any favoritism any along the way, it's going to create disparities. Equality is the solution going forward. All justice has to be fair.
Amanda?
Again, communication is key. Communication with administrators, educators, students, and parents and community members. What we're talking about is perception, versus reality, the way that, different aspects of the behavior issues are looked at. We need to ask these questions. Do we have clear policies in place? Establishing clear policies and consistent policies help students understand the expectations and the consequences of their behavior. We need to ask, are they being followed? Are we reinforcing positive behavior rather than solely punishing negative behavior? Are we doing consistent updates and training to make sure that there are needed adjustments so that these policies are effective? And here's the big piece. Are we providing enough access to counseling and mental health resources for students and families? I know that the mental health workers are, I know that these workers are overworked and spread thin, but you know, are we just checking the box there? For instance, if you have a student who has anger issues or seems to be reactive, and are we just checking that box that yes, we got them some mental health, but you know, is there counseling 20 minutes every 3 weeks? Because I'm not sure that that's effective. What I don't want to see, I have 30 seconds, what I don't want to see is us tossing these kids out, suspending them. I want to make sure that these policies are not disproportionately affecting those children that identify or don't identify as the majority. That's what I want to make sure that we're covering, and that's why I think we should talk to everyone about it. And Rebecca.
So I believe we need to see what's working and what is not working. We need to work with a collaborative spirit. Turn to our teachers, staff, and community members for their input if what we have is not working. We need to ensure that we have equality in our schools, but then we also need to consider, are these children that have behavioral issues, do they have an IEP? We may not be able to discipline them the same way that we would discipline a neurotypical individual. So having more information before we make a policy change would be helpful. And then another option could be to hire more behavioral specialists to work with these children that have the behavioral issues in school to help them with their academic success.
Okay, and so this is the last question of the evening. Who else want to leave? Okay. How do you plan to work together to address any issue that Radford City schools may face? So if elected, how do you plan to work together to address any issues that Radford City schools may face? And we will start first with Brian.
Well, it's just listen. You know, we need to listen to our other board members. We need to listen to the staff, the teachers, and you know, address every situation that comes to us. I'm a huge common sense guy. I think that goes a long way. But like I said, they're the educators. We're just here to implement what they tell us. And we're tools for them to use. That's the way I view it. The learning and the well-being of our students, that's a priority thing. You know, it's, my motto is it's simple. It's you know, the students are our future. I mean, that's just the way it is.
If elected to school board, I will be aware that each of us brings unique backgrounds and experiences to the table, enriching our discussions and decision-making processes. While our diverse perspectives are invaluable, they may also lead to differing opinions on how to address various issues. But by fostering an environment of open communication, we can discuss our differing viewpoints respectfully, ensuring that every voice is heard and considered. I am but just one voice of 5 on that board, and it takes the whole board to make a difference, so we need to work together. Kelsey.
I think that one of the first things that we need to address when we're working together and covering any issues is that we need to learn as a school board and as a school district from our past mistakes so we do not repeat these in the future. That being said, a unified board, of course, is going to be paramount for any success that we are going to have. It does not matter what a person's beliefs are outside of the boardroom. While we are in here together, outside of the boardroom while we were all there. I also believe that, as many have said, and as I have mentioned prior to this, that the only way that we can achieve going through certain issues is to collaborate effectively. But the collaboration has to be done by all board members being able to understand that while we may be partisan in certain areas, we can work together effectively.
So, as Kelsey said, I believe we need to present as a united front as a school board. We can have our disagreements, but we need to work together. So, doing this through teamwork, respecting each other's opinions on the matter, actively listening to everybody on the board and their perspective on the situation, and then problem solving so that we can all come to some type of conclusion together.
And
I think it's a whole lot easier to collaborate on the ideas of a local school board. Even if a lot of the national issues tend to divide people left versus right and things like that, when it comes down to something as local as school board, we all want what's best for our kids. So on that, you know, obviously, as I mentioned several times before, if we keep the main thing, realize what's working, we're on a great track, keep focused on that, you know, back our teachers, back our new superintendent, and realize we are going to disagree on things, even within people that probably lean your way ideologically. You just might not come up with the same solutions. We're all adults, we can work through that.
thank you. And so now our candidates will each have 2 minutes for their closing remarks. And we are going to go in reverse alphabetical order. So we'll start first with the main event.
First, again, I would like to thank everyone for coming out. And again, thank the NAACP and League of Women Voters and the volunteers who are out collecting questions. Thank you again for taking time out of your day. If elected, I will commit to continuous learning and growth as a school board member. I promise to make informed decisions, taking the time to fully understand all perspectives before reaching any conclusions. My door will always be open. I will be accessible to students, parents, teachers, and community members, valuing your insights and feedback. We must ensure that all students receive a quality education that empowers them to think for themselves. We want our children to be able to see multiple viewpoints and develop critical thinking skills, enabling them to navigate the complexities of the world around them. All kids deserve to feel safe, valued, and empowered. Ultimately, our goal should be to prepare our children to be the best citizens possible, equipping them with the tools they need to move America forward. Together, let's foster a generation that is thoughtful, informed, and ready to take on the challenges of tomorrow. Thank you for your consideration when you vote for school board.
Kelsey Monroe.
First, I, of course, would like to thank everyone for being here this evening. I think this is a wonderful tool to be able, as I said in the beginning, to have everyone be able to get how we all stand on certain issues and also to take a look at what we will be voting for come election day. One thing that I would also like to address that was not talked about, but I think it's something that I have campaigned on, and one thing that I feel very passionately about is that we need to be preparing particularly our high school students for the real world, as we see as adults currently how polarized and what it takes to be a successful adult in our current society. That being said, our career program within RHS could certainly use more support, a wider expansion when it comes to the courses that could be made available. And I think that there would be support with this, both from the city if needed, as well as within the school system itself. I have worked incredibly hard in these past recent months to be able to gain as much knowledge as possible, because knowledge is key, and as we all know, it is power. I appreciate you all again being here. I do sometimes feel like I stand as the outsider, as I was not born and raised here. However, maybe what we really need is a fresh perspective, and I definitely think that given my background and given where I stand on certain issues, I could certainly give that to the board if you were to elect me. Thank you.
Rebecca Dunn.
Again, thank you for engaging and attending this important forum and giving us all the opportunity to introduce ourselves and share our desire to run. I'm passionate about the success of Radford City Public Schools and believe that together we can continue moving forward, creating environments for student success. My promise to this community is that if I'm elected, I'll base all my decisions on the best interests of our children and educators, upholding the position with the highest level of ethical standards. Please consider voting for me on November 5th.
Brian Belden.
Well, I appreciate you guys for listening to us. Thanks to the NAACP, League of Women Voters, for having me. I do appreciate it. But you know, I'm not really running this for the fact that I'm an old Radford boy. You know, I seriously believe that things happen for a reason. I know that I can make a difference working with whoever. I've done it before in the past. But the main thing that when we leave here, that I want to let people know, and you can be rest assured that my goal would be for each one of those kids that graduate from here, that they can step out of those doors, no matter if they go to the workforce, no matter if they go on to college, but they can step outside and know that they're ready to tackle whatever's ahead of them. And when we can do that, and that gets accomplished, we've done our jobs, and we've done it perfect. It's not going to be easy. It's hard. It's really hard work. But they're trending upward. I know myself at the Department of Education personally commend Dr. Joyce for their performances. So, like I said, green is good and it's trending upward. So, with the hard work that we can put together and work together, we can achieve it all. Thank you so much.
And Ben Huzzer.
I agree with most of these closing statements. We're trying to get our kids ready for informed citizenship. I appreciate everybody for coming out today. Absolutely, thank you for putting this on, putting this together. Y'all are wonderful. Even thank you to Rob, wherever he's at, for setting up all the sound stuff. You're amazing. The biggest thing about this, pedigree aside, the things that I feel like I do well. I've got 2 kids in the school system. One of them's 8, one of them's 10, and I love them with all my heart. And I want good things for them. And so I'm trying to do something a little bit bigger than me. And I firmly believe that the greatest in the kingdom is the servant of all. And this is me trying to serve. And if anything I said resonated with any of y'all, I hope so. I'll be ready, willing, and able to have your vote November 5th or September 20th if you want to do some early voting.
Okay, let's get all of our candidates. And so you all in the audience, you all gave some really great questions, and I hate that we couldn't get to all of them, but it's very clear how much you all care about the direction of your schools. So thank you all for that. I also want to thank everyone that did make tonight possible. So my planning partners, Lisa Davis and Dan McKinney with the Radford Chamber of Commerce, Cindy Graham with the League of Women Voters, Montgomery County, all of tonight's volunteers, and our Radford High School for allowing us to host tonight's forum. I want to remind you that outside we do have candidate bios that you can pick up so you can continue to learn about tonight's candidates. And please remember that early voting starts this Friday, September 20th, and we will see you all on October the 15th for the City Council candidate forum. So thank you all for coming this evening.